Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at the performance of the new and improved Bardock in the super physical Extreme Super Battle Road stage. So obviously we want to take a good look at how good Bardock's become since his EZA. He's improved greatly. Obviously they did improve his leader skill, but we are going to, he's a monotype lead, so we are going to run him under a physical Super Saiyan or a physical Pure Saiyans team. So it's a pretty good team. It's one of those, physical. Obviously being a monotype means you can either go with a physical alternative lead like SS3 Gotenks, or you can run something like the Transforming Vegeta, because there are so many good pure Saiyan's physical units. So definitely something that's a little bit workaroundable for certain stages. Obviously Bardock not being a category lead will affect his variability and his usability, but it's not the end of the world. He wasn't a category lead before, so I always doubt they're going to make them category leads after they change them. More importantly with Bardock, we've managed to get 4 links activated here, so he looks like he'll be pretty decent. One thing from Bardock's side, very good starting defense. He does raise his attack and defense as well on his super, which is super helpful. He greatly raises on his 12 key and he only raises on his 18 key, but he does so much extra damage on his 18 key that it's really not too necessary. Obviously he does increase damage against Frieza type units, Frieza units I should say, units with Frieza in the name. And he does seal, so very, very good overall there. You can see we got some nice big chunky damage in. We managed to seal the Android 19. So really good start from Bardock off the bat. 150 or so K defense as well is very, very solid. Remember he would have higher defense if he was under double 150 leads, or if he was actually just in the team and not being used as the pseudo lead. In terms of Bardock, I think there's very little they could change. I think he's very good. I think his EZA brought him up to speed into the current meta. His damage is incredible. His defense is solid now. He's not like a defensive wall, he's not stacking permanently or anything. So in long form events, he's not going to end up being this mega defensive unit, but his defense is very, very viable in all in-game content depending on your dupes now. So he actually can be used for pretty much, as far as I can tell, all in-game content. Obviously it's difficult to use Bardock when you don't have him like as a unit because he's only a monotype lead, but just based on the numbers I'm seeing here, the theoretical numbers, the numbers you can kind of do in your head, Bardock's definitely viable on multiple teams. And he's viable in end-game content. I mean, you don't get units that start with 153k with one single dupe in them with no support and say that they're not viable in end-game content. So Bardock looking very, very good right off the bat. Obviously in this situation here we should activate his full passive, but you can see he tanks really well with that additional defense that they gave him, and with an item he tanks more than fine on this event. He gets that guaranteed crit against Frieza units and he seals, so just right off the bat he's done great so far. 2 big attack stats, crit obviously guaranteed here, so overall just shucking out some really, really big damage. Remember he still has no support or anything on this rotation. He's got no additional help or anything, just an item and he's more than fine. So yeah, realistically, Bardock looking super duper solid. Very impressed with good old Bardock. Very happy with his EZA. I think people who do have him, definitely he's well worth the effort to put in to get the EZA. I think for people who don't have him and you pick him up in future, obviously now it makes him way more viable and a much like more exciting unit to pick up. I think they could have, his animations aren't that bad considering the time when he came out, but I do think they could have maybe, whenever they do these EZAs, they could maybe just touch them up a tiny bit, like either, I don't know, just HD them or just de-blur the lines, or maybe add in a single scene, just something, or add in a KO screen even. just something to kind of complete the easy A-ness of the unit, I think is kind of the best deal to go with. But you can see here we share some decent links with this Goku. Obviously we're not, so thing with Bardock is that additional attack that he gets is only against Frieza units or units with Frieza in the name. So it's not against Wicked Bloodlines or anything, so he's not going to get it against King Cold here. But still really good damage. Ceiling, obviously, he's going to, you can see here, that's with no item, 31k, which is good. You know, taking 31k on Extreme Super Battle Road is very, very good with no item. Obviously, he managed to raise his defense as well after Super, so that does help. But overall, you can see just how good he is. I'm going to use Vegeta's active skill because I love it, so just listen and we'll be back. I still think it's one of the best active skills in the game, and I just love the OST change up and everything that just comes with it, so it's really, really awesome. And yeah, but you can see Bardock really doing well. Out of all the units, he's been very, very impressive. Remember, that's Vegeta taking 25k after his active skill as well. So Bardock's definitely up there in the realm of current LRs. He's been brought into the later meta. He's been brought up to speed with the game. He can do the harder content. Like I said, he's not necessarily a brick wall. He doesn't have defense reduction. He doesn't have guard or anything like that. But his defense is definitely viable in in-game content, especially if you have a dupe or two, you're running him under a proper team. The best thing about Bardock though is his damage. Just that big wallop damage that he can do, which is really impressive. I mean, you look here, he's doing some really good numbers. He's doing the best numbers in the team. And it's not just about the numbers. Obviously, he's a unit that benefits from support because of all that additional attack he gains on his super, which is always helpful. And just overall, obviously, it's just good to note that he can obviously just tank some big time damage. So Bardock, really impressive. You can see another big attack stat. He's going to seal. He's just doing a lot, and with doing all that damage, he really helps you clear out these hard events. I mean, you look at events like LGE GT, you look at things like the God event. You know, having a unit that can do 5 million attack stat, or 5 million attack stat with 150k, 170k defense after super, it really comes in handy against those God events right off the bat. You know, not a lot of units don't start with that high kind of defense. A lot of units don't, necessarily do that kind of damage so easily. So it's just really helpful. And yeah, I think that, obviously you can see from just this event that we're doing right now, just how much damage he does, just how good he is. And I think when they do these LRZAs, I think it's great that they do keep the original construct of the unit in mind. They do keep the thematic, things of the units in mind. I like the fact that Bardock does gain these buffs against Frieza type units. It makes sense for the moment that the LR is based on. And just overall, they don't try and change Bardock into something he's not. They don't make Bardock like this ridiculously nuts kind of like defensive Omni Guard / stunner sealer / huge mega damage guy, because that's not what the card is based on. Bardock's, it's like Bardock's final charge. So he's got decent defense and all that, because obviously he had to go through all the phases of fighting all those soldiers to get to Frieza. But yeah, it's more just about that one final attack. And yeah, okay, it didn't hit Frieza and everything, but it was all he had. So it's really like cool that they keep the theme of the unit intact when they do these kind of like LRZAs, and I think that's really awesome. Again, we can see there Bardock only taking 30k, really good. Remember also the fact that he can seal does help out a lot, because obviously it just kind of like prevents the chance of him taking a massive super or anything. You can see him here taking 10k, really good after supering. And just, yeah, Bardock's just looking good. There's no real other words needed to describe it. There's no real other, like, necessary, displays or anything. I don't think you need it. Like, obviously with support, he'd be hitting a lot harder because that's how the mechanic of his passive works. But that being said, it's not necessary. Like, you don't need to hit ultra mega hard just to get, like, results with Bardock. Bardock is good as is. You can take him as a friend lead, and Bardock will help carry you and do good performance in the Esbr. And that, for me, is enough for the unit. Like, I don't think you need him to kind of be super omni good. But if you have him and you set him up, he can hit crazy numbers. That's the really cool thing about Bardock. Give him a little bit of care and he can hit even crazier numbers, not just these super solid 4 or 5 millions that we see. He can hit things like 7, 8, 9 million if you set him up real good and you have dupes in him. And I think that's always a perk of the unit, I think that's always a really, really good sign for the card. In terms of build, I do think you want to go for crit on Bardock. Obviously he has guaranteed crits against Frieza type units, but that's not enough, I want to say, for Bardock. Like, at least, for him to be useful in all kinds of content. I do think crit's the best way to go. You will naturally gain some additional as you build into crit, and that's fine. Triggering double super attacks, especially his 12 key, will raise his defense quite substantially, because you will raise defense on the 18 key and then continue to raise defense on the 12 key, which is of course super helpful for him to gain that extra defense. But it's not something I believe you should build into. Bardock's damage is his main benefit that he's bringing to your lineup, and that, like you see here, double super attacks, really awesome, but of course, like, not necessary. His defense is great now. Would have been great even without an item. He would have been able to probably be close to double digits, I want to say, based on the 30-40k he was taking before. Greatly raising his defense again, he probably would have taken around 10 to 5k, which is good, obviously. We're going to use Vegeta's active skill to end off, just because I really love the active skill, and Abdi's almost dead. I just really like that active skill. It's just really cool. It's still one of the best still probably the best active skill in the game for me. Like, I just really dig it so much. But yeah, we'll finish probably off with the active skill. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below, how did you think Bardock did in the Super Physical Extreme Super Battle Road stage? How do you think Bardock will do in other hard content of the game? And if you do have Bardock, how are you finding him after his EZA? Do you like using him? Do you not like using him? But yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, stay safe, and bye.